everybody? Back today with Goblin Town co-founder Alex Taub, who's AJT on Twitter. It's kind of hard to be in the NFT or be in the Web3 space and not know about Goblin Town because of just the iconic moments that you guys have spawned, whether that is in Twitter Spaces, minting out, IRL events. You guys have absolutely solidified yourselves as just an iconic moment in Web3 history. There's so much more to what you're doing, though, as a co-founder. Now, Goblin Town is a subsidiary of Truth Labs or Truth Ventures.
You're
and you
close.
guys are
Truth Arts.
Truth Arts. And you guys are pushing towards, I think, a more robust kind of ecosystem of IP for how you're approaching this creation that you have. I think it's good to kind of start with like first who you are, how you got to Goblin Town, and then how things have evolved from there.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and thanks for having me on.
Of course.
Yeah, so I'm Alex. I was born in like New York. Grew up in New York. I'm a New York Knicks fan. Still wearing my hat. Playoffs this week. Um, and so yeah, born and raised in New York. Currently live in Miami, but I'll always be a New Yorker. And there's always been in startups and tech. Right out of school, I joined a startup called Aviary. Worked there for 2 years. Then in 2014, I joined a startup called Dwala. It was based in Iowa, and I joined it with now one of my co-founders, named Michael. And we joined together, and then we eventually left together. But we sort of had a front row seat to crypto. So Dwala was one of the first ways to get money in and out of like Mt. Gox, Silk Road, Bitstamp, BitInstant, all those places before Coinbase existed. And so when we joined, Bitcoin was like under $5. We had a front row seat to everything going on. And that was sort of like my first experience in crypto. Ended up leaving 2 years later, started a company with Michael around social media analytics, sold in 2019, and started a company called Upstream. Had a few different incantations, but it eventually became sort of a blockchain infrastructure, like a DAO infrastructure play. Raised a bunch of money. And then at the same time, co-founded Truth Arts with two people, a friend of mine for years, a guy named Cesar Kuriyama, who's the founder of 1 Second Every Day, and then someone who goes by the name of Process Gray, who is our chief creative officer. He's does all the art, and he's basically the like brains behind I like to say he's like our little sort of like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, mixed in with like a George Lucas, all in one. Like we would not have anything without him. And so we started Truth Labs, which originally started off with Illuminati NFT, which came out January 2022, and then it was just like a fun little like secret society on the blockchain. We thought like great, killed himself with the art for a few months, and it just became this like beautiful, it still is one of the most beautiful like art collection I could think of. And yeah, we ended up but we always like sort of were like describing ourselves as like sort of like Mischief, the company in
I was
Brooklyn.
going to
Like
say the vibe I get is like mischief related of like, well, if we have an
we were
idea,
like
we'll,
Web3 bit Mischief. Yeah, that
yeah.
was like really the idea. Is like, could we build a Web3 Mischief? It just, the funny thing was like the first thing we tried was Goblin Town, and sort of then we ran with it. And so that sort of came to be in May of 2022. And we ended up basically the market had crashed. People were saying like down to Goblin Town, from The Hobbit. It wasn't something we invented. And just one day, in like a group chat, I went to Caesar and Gray, and I was like, wouldn't it be funny if people had to change their profile photos from like sort of apes and punks to like goblins. I think I said some version of like whoever did this would make a killing. And Gray was like sick, but like even in his like 103 fever, he's like, I could put together like a PFP like goblin, sort of ugly, sort of attractive, ugly goblins. And then Cedar started riffing on like well, what if we made it free because everyone's broke? And then what if we did it like, we were sort of like counterculture? And then sort of it evolved from this like 3-person chat until we felt like we had something. And then we went to the rest of the team and we're like, okay, we have this idea. Gray already drew some of it. Here's the idea. And then it sort of just was like a natural blossoming thing. The only thing that we just sort of wanted to do was we wanted it to be anonymous. And you know, looking back, would we still have done it that way? Probably, because the goal really at the time was like let people focus on the thing we're doing, because it ended up becoming this like performance art. We wanted to like there was like, for example, there was 5 NFTs in the collection that the metadata would update every few days, right? At the time, people forget because things have changed a lot, but like that was blasphemous. Like you do not change the metadata of your collection. Um, and so we were just trying to like, okay, everyone does a Discord. We're not doing a Discord. Let's have all the conversation on Twitter. Everyone was doing a roadmap and utility, and it's like, oh, these roadmaps are so stupid. Like just because you think something's a good idea today doesn't mean it's a good idea, 6
Right.
months from now, and then
Right.
you're sort of stuck doing it. And so all these things that came from different sort of pockets of people, that were who were working on it, we ended up thinking that like, okay, we don't want people to focus on who's behind it. We want or like the team behind it, because everyone was also obsessing with like, oh, it's this team, it's that team. They weren't really like focused on the thing. And so we're like, let's focus on the goblins and the story and this and that. And I joke about this, but like everyone obsessed with who is the team because they didn't know. So it sort of added like the whole speculative layer to it, or an added speculative layer. But it ended up sort of coming out on a Friday. Our biggest fear was that no one would mint it because it was free, and at the time, people were doing like these wallet drainers. Like people forget
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Like it was like if you didn't know the thing and you started minting it, and then all your stuff would be gone. Um, and so we ended up going to a friend of mine, and named Mike Dudas, and I was talking to him about something else at the time. And I was just like, hey, we did this thing. We sort of want to be anonymous. Would you like just tweet to like let people know it's not a scam, or it's not going to wallet drain you. Like you don't need to like throw your weight behind it or anything. Just like just like bless it, Um, and he did, and even with that, it took 45 minutes to mint out
Were
a
those like
free
the
mint.
longest 45 minutes ever for you?
No,
Like,
because it was picking up quick.
okay.
So it wasn't long. Um, we posted it. There used to be an active alpha channel in the sort of Illuminati Discord. So we posted it
Right.
there like halfway through. We didn't want it to be like so obvious that it was us, like posted the first second. So we posted like halfway through. A lot of people got to mint it, and we put aside a bunch to give to the community. But yeah, so it ended up coming out, and then yeah, I've been involved with many things in my life. This exploded in a way that I had never personally experienced before, and it was just I think it just captivated the space for the next like 30 to 45 days.
It was everything. Everybody was talking about it.
Yeah, yeah.
You have
uh,
been involved with a lot of stuff though. I mean that as you've kind of like told the story of like where you originated from to 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 where you are at like Goblin Town Mint, you were building something. Entrepreneur thinking. Is your background technical?
no, so that was my co-founder Michael.
Right.
I'm when I say I'd say like on the team, like Michael is our CTO, and he's like the I'm like the I'm like the brawn. They're like the brains. So I'd say Michael's like the technical brains, and then Gray is like the art and sort of brand brains. I'm just like, this is just a meat suit of, just going on places and embarrassing myself. But yeah, no, I'm not technical in the slightest. And yeah, I've always loved tech, and I've always loved, games and
Right.
entertainment. But no, I'm not a builder in that sense. I do have a good idea every once in a while. But honestly, like I think ideas are typically worthless.
Yeah.
For example,
Agreed.
like if
Agreed.
I would have dropped that idea to Gray and Caesar, and they wouldn't have ran with it, you know, and we ran together, but like if they wouldn't ran with it and Greg come up with the brand and this and that, we wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
But that's also, you have to understand that when you're on a team on anything, like you usually can't do it all by yourself. Even if you're an amazing, engineer, you might not be able to market it properly, or raise money to take it to the next level. If you're a great, designer, you might not be able to build the great, tech for it. So you sort of need to understand that you're a piece of a puzzle, and it's very rare that you're just like one solo founder that can just sort of do everything.
I
Um,
I consider you like one of like the leaders in the Web3 space, and you are one of the more successful people to come out of Web3 from whatever way you cut it. And I think a lot of people do look and they at these large collections and they go, okay, well, how did he like what was the secret sauce? What did he have to do? And I think one area that you've kind of nailed there that I think a lot of people miss is it's not a solo game all the time. And you often have to just look internally and be like, what am I good at? Where are my weaknesses? Find the people that can fill in those spots. But ultimately, you have to execute on that idea. Without execution, it's just an
oh yeah,
idea.
100%. I mean, for me, like I'm the way I know what I'm good at. Like I'm good at getting people excited about things. I'm good at like, getting this in like sort of infectious excitement. That's why I'm good at like pitching investors or reporters, or like I used to do business development before I was a founder. And so like I'm good at that. But yeah, no, it's impossible to do all the stuff by yourself. And even if you have a great team, there's always like interpersonal relationships and different, issues of communication. That's tough. But yeah, no, that's like I come out and talk because I usually am good at like getting people excited about it. But like there's also like he doesn't do as many like public things, but and I want him to do more. But like Gray, he's our chief creative officer and does all the art. When he gets into it, he's probably like 1,000 times the pitchman that I am, because it's just like he lives and breathes it.
Right.
It's his brand. He is that. So but if he would go and do these things, then he wouldn't have the time to do the creative and
Right.
um, and the art and sort of all that stuff. So you have to balance it as a team. And yeah, it's never easy, but you do need to figure out like what you're good at and also like what you're not good at, and step aside when you're not good at something.
There is the figuring out internally what you're good at. I think also the other side, and I think this opens up the rest of the conversation here is like as a company and a brand and a business, figuring out where you guys are going to put your efforts in growth and adoption. Um, and you guys could have gone and said, "Hey, we're gonna build a Web3 game like everybody else. We're gonna go do, we're gonna lean really heavy into like IP licensing deal." Like, you guys have chosen to kind of zig when others are zagging. Um, you're coming out with a Web 2 game on Steam end of April this month. Uh, it's not Web 3. There's no token. There's no mint. You can just go to Steam, download and play, and you're using it as IP prolification of, hey, now people will be able to use this IP or experience IP. They become accustomed to it, and basically you also have other Web 2 areas, and you're still basically keeping the value of the Web 3 collection where it is today.
Yeah. So it's actually a little bit more complex than that. I'd
Okay,
say.
I was hoping. Okay,
Yeah, so the company is sort of comprised of like I sort of say like 2.5 like departments or units, right? So there's Goblin Town, which takes up two of them, and then there's like some of this like software meme tech that we're building. I would say that's the
right.
half.
Yep.
In terms of Goblin Town, there's two sides. There's really like the brand IP webs, like let's call it Web 2.0 side, or a normal brand side, and then there's the Web 3 side. And so for the normal brand side, there's I'd say three main things. One is graphic novel, and I like to look at it as like sort of source material. We have to do it anyway, but it happens to be coming in the form of a graphic novel. Internally, I think there's two done, and then starting to work on the third soon. We haven't released any of them. I think our goal right now is to just get enough of a story together, and then eventually decide if we want to self-publish it or work with a publisher. For us, it is you know, we're doing it anyway. It's the source material, and we're not there's like no expectations there, but we want it to be really good, obviously.
Right.
Um, that's one. Two is uh, animation show. Not much we could talk about it right now, but we've been working on it for a bit, and we're really excited about it, and we think we have something sort of special. But animation around the Goblin Town universe, specifically a story, and sort of running with that, and getting that on, more of a mainstream audience to it. And then the third is video games. And so the first release is Goblin Town Really Hard Driving Game. We're doing an event in New York City in 5 days, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We're going to be in Union Square, so it's going to be 420, 421, and 422. And we are going to be right outside of Union Square West, like between 16th and 17th Street. There's a place
Okay.
called Dazed Cannabis. And we have a little partnership with them where we're going to be outside their store, which is sort of perfect for 420. And we've taken the McGoblin Burger truck. So if anyone remembers the McGoblin Burger truck from, well, the first time we had it was in 2022 at NFT NYC, and we're serving burgers out of it. We have stripped out the Goblin Burger truck. It is no longer a burger truck. This thing has had more lives than I could literally sit here and tell you like the Iliad of stories for it. But anyway, the truck is like ripped out. It's being refurbished, and we're putting gaming rigs in there. And we will be allowing people to play the game before it comes out. So the game's going to come out at the end of the month, and a few days before the game comes out, you'll be able to play it in NYC. And to add a little bit of excitement to it, we are offering, if anyone, it's called the Really Hard Driving Game. If anyone can beat it on their first run, we'll give them 10 grand on the spot.
What
And
it's
so
I can't understate though. It looks extremely hard, but the virality I think of the clips we'll see coming out of this game are going to be iconic. Um, Also, this cannabis shop is going to have a bunch of people screaming in a truck outside of their shop on 420, which I find absolutely hilarious. I don't know if you want to touch on that a bit.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, it's like the best location you could theoretically have. It's Union Square. It's like 3 days. We're gonna be there every day, probably starting at like 10 a.m. We'll officially like announce times, but I think it's gonna be 10 until probably dark. And yeah, it's gonna be wild. Like the whole thing. There's gonna be a few gaming rigs like in the truck, like attached to the truck, and yeah, we're gonna have like a bunch of different types of games, like a bunch of different types of like contests people could do, and we're gonna have so much merch there. We're gonna give away. We have like everything from like these ears to this is the iconic
Oh
mask.
my god.
So maybe we'll let people play a second time if they wear the mask while they play, and go for the 10 grand. And so yeah, it's gonna be super fun. We're gonna have we'll have like food and snacks and everything. And so yeah, it's gonna be a blast. I mean, it's
Well,
gonna be like
the
an
catch
attraction. It's this crazy like monstrosity of a truck that like lets you play video games inside.
the catch of the game is you can slow the game down if you scream and make
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
that
Well,
is
I was going to get to that in a second. The other last thing about the truck is that we're bringing that truck to other conventions. So the
oh,
first two that we've locked down is we're going to be at PAX East, which is in the beginning of May in Boston. It's one of the bigger gaming I guess conferences or conventions. And so they've allowed us to bring it inside the convention. So you will literally the truck will be inside. There's like some laws about like how much fuel you can have and stuff, but this truck will be literally inside. I mean, there's no way you don't walk up to that thing if you see it in a
I I
convention.
can only imagine what it's gonna look
No.
like. What
No.
like I'm sitting here thinking, can I make it to New York on Sunday? Would that does that make sense? I can't say no to a quick trip up north. Uh,
Honestly, it'll be worth it. I'll make sure you get enough merch to cover your ride or your drive or
I
your
you
train.
know, the graphic novel, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, there's nothing better than having a Goblin Town book on my coffee table. That is I feel like that's the ultimate conversation starter.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. We should do one of those like coffee table ones. I mean, yeah, we should definitely do the comic and the graphic novel. I mean, but we should also do like a funny like goblins through like we could do like a Rome like architecture,
oh my
but like
god.
it's
Oh
goblins.
my
That would be
like,
funny.
and, like,
It'd be a funny like
make it
little.
look super, like, super professional, like,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah.
like, what's up with
And then
this?" And
inside it's
everybody's like,
just goblins.
you
Yeah,
would just be like, "Oh, it's a coffee table book." They're like, "But it's got goblins in it." "No, no, yeah, it's a normal coffee table book."
yeah.
You guys have
We could definitely.
dominated on this growth strategy of, like, just being different, and that being this thing that gravitates people to, like, feeling like, "Oh, this is so fresh. Why isn't everybody doing it this way?" Um, and obviously the answer is because 'cause you're doing something different, but is that kind of like a driving growth strategy for you, is to, like, make people go, like, "What's going on over there?"
Yeah, I think everyone on the team is a little bit different, and thinks a little bit outside the box, but it definitely goes to like, I think first and foremost, like just the brand and Gray, and there's a guy on the team named Bruce. There's a guy Scott, and I'd say they make up a lot of the creative mind share of the brand. And then even for the game, there's two really just amazing guys. Internally, there's Matt and Nikki, but Nikki was like an OG Goblin holder, or community member. He just goes by the name Nikki Doodles, and he made a lot of like the best like 3D art um, inside of like Goblin Town. And Gray was always just loving it. And then we found that he was going to book free up, and then he came on. Actually, he did. I think he's actually one of our collections in the Grumple collection, which was, for those that don't know, uh, every goblin got a burger. When you got your burger, you could use it to set a trap to catch this thing called a Grumple. And we had a bunch of like artists or people who made art for it, and one of them I think was a 3D McGoblin burger truck, which I think Nikki made. So he was just like intimately tied to the team for 3 years, and then when he became available, he was doing some awesome stuff. He was working on like the Sphere in Las Vegas, and when he became available, we sort of snatched him up. He's like, "Oh, I have a good friend who he's like my basically my partner, and he makes games and I can model the games." And so they both came on end of 2023, beginning of 2024, and then they two are basically the brainchild behind the game, and so they're just really really talented. And so to answer your question is like yes, like I think it starts with the brand and the creative team, just being sort of different and thinking differently. Um, and yeah, I think in general, I mean, we, Goblin Town sort of started as the counterculture thing. Like it was like let's do the opposite of what everyone's doing. Um, but it wasn't just to do it because everyone was doing it. It was, could we find a funny, interesting way to do something, And so, even the screaming stuff, right? So we announced, I think last week, that in this game, we're sort of inspired by, um, you know, inspired by I think the Matrix was the first one. The Matrix with bullet time with
Yep.
Neo, the iconic sort of like slowed down bullets flying past him. And then 2 years later, for those that played video games back then, um, there's a game called Max Payne, where when you were sort of playing the game, you could sort of dive into a room, or like when you're doing like a shootout, it's like sort of like a hitman mob game a little bit. Um, you could slow down time and try to like headshot the person. And so we thought like, the screaming on Twitter Spaces was one of the things that, people always continue to say back to me, and I'm sure the other people on the team, of like something they remember that was really funny, just a bunch of people being on a Twitter space and screaming like
I
goblins.
remember my
Um,
first one.
yeah, 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 no, and there was like I think there was like hundreds of thousands of views and thousands of people in the space, and
Yep.
so yeah, we sort of like, okay, well, what if we made it so this game already has that level of tension when you're climbing, right? Because you're basically, you know, it's a death run, but it's verticalized in the sense of like you're climbing and you're trying to basically make this delivery. Originally, internally, we were calling it Goblin Delivery. When eventually it was like, this is a really hard game. I think it was great. It was like, yeah, let's just call it a really hard driving game. And it sort of felt like perfect and on the nose. And so, but and by itself, it would be a great streaming game, even if you had none of the screaming stuff. That being said, when you add the screaming part to it, and the screaming part just lets you slow down time, and it lets you like sort of finagle yourself back on the track. Now, what you'll find when you start to play it is that you can use your audio to do crazy things, very high risk things, sometimes high reward, right? Like I was trying to figure out how to. I have a Steam Deck right here, and I was trying to figure out how to like stream my Steam Deck to my computer so I could play it publicly when the game comes out.
Right.
And I was messing around, and I have a one witness that I wasn't recording anything yet. And I did just like I used audio to do this. Like I jumped like a whole section and like landed like a feather, and it was insane. And so like I could totally see when it comes out, there are going to be people who try to like speed run the game using the audio, and they're just going to be crazy. My wife and kids have been looking at me because I've been playing the
I was
game
going to
like
say,
I'm a crazy person for the
your
past.
neighbors must hate you right now.
I'm in Miami and I'm in a house, so I don't have the
Okay.
neighbors can't hear. But yes, if I was in like, I won't. I think there's a few things that could make it really go viral. I think if like there's like noise complaints, probably like could get some play, but also like just like ruining your throat. Like we need to find like an ear, note, and throat doctor who would like who like
Get
come
get the
out against
referral
it.
money off of that.
Yeah, like they'll come out against the game and make a PSA of like you should not be playing this game. It's going to ruin your throat. But it's really fun and it's just really different. I think the audio stuff. I don't even know how that came to be. I think it was a bunch of people at different times coming up with different things. I don't remember exactly.
I don't think
I
I've
don't
ever seen
even
that
remember.
in a game before.
There have been some recent ones. I don't remember exactly, like I'm usually pretty good at remembering, like, the source of something, but I don't remember who had the idea at any given time. I probably could look back on our Slack and see when the first time it was mentioned, but, uh, there were a few things that were happening, um, I don't know if you remember, like, on TikTok, there were a bunch of different games recently that had to do with, like, audio, like the Do Re Mi game or the Chicken String
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
There was, like, a quiet place type of game where you had to be quiet. I saw it went viral for a little bit on Steam, where like, the monsters you had to keep your audio on, but if you
Right.
were, like,
If you
any
made
sound.
noise, yeah.
Yeah, like, the thing, the
I
monsters would come.
That is true.
And so there are
But
things
I
that
didn't
use
think of
audio,
it
but
in that,
not
like,
really in the way that we've been approaching
yeah.
it.
It's very unique. I'm looking forward to seeing, like, a TikTok of somebody being, like, playing really hard driving game during lecture at college, like, that will be hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely like so it sort of takes it from being like interesting to being like, oh, this is like really really streamable. Because like when you think about it, right? When you're a content creator, you're an influencer, or whatever, you're trying to make like either you're really good at the game, and so that's your thing. You're just good. You're better than everyone. You're a good Fortnite player. You're good this. You're good that. Or you're like funny, right? Or like yeah, it's usually one of those two things. Maybe you're attractive. That could be another one. You know, there's probably a few like reasons why like someone gets a big audience, right? Like you think about the bet, like what PewDiePie was like really funny.
Yep.
Ninja was like at the time really good, but also funny.
Yep.
Like, and so you like think through people, and like it's usually funny or good, or attractive. And so, I think for content creators, you're thinking of like if you're not naturally funny, right? Or you're funny, but like you can only be so funny, right?
Right.
Having a tool that sort of helps you, um, like make funny content, good content, is a really big plus.
It is you're basically giving these creators the tools to be funny and to have entertaining content.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely like more so than just like a regular game, right? Like, you're using your voice to be like I already see like, Speed and Kai Cenat screaming at their computers, right?
Yep.
Like now it affects their game,
Yeah.
And so there's something about that has potential to like to really like, take it up a notch. And so
Yeah.
it's exciting. I mean, we're going to be at in New York, then we're going to be in Boston for PAX, then we're going to be at DreamHack
Oh
in
wow.
Dallas with the truck also, and then after that, like obviously depending on what happens, there's summer, there's Comic Con, there's Twitch Fest, so there's like all these things that we definitely want the truck at, or we'll make more trucks and bring them there. And so the way we look at the game, right, is we like Goblin Town is the main character, right? There's goblins in Goblin Town, but there's other characters in Goblin Town. They're not the
Right.
only people there, but it is their name, goblins, Goblin Town. So that's our main character, and like in the same way, and obviously we have a long way to get there, but like for Fortnite, like the main character is the island, right? And every 2 weeks they do a patch update. Every quarter they do a season update, right? And they have some characters there, but like, and they're sort of iconic at this point, right? Because Fortnite is Fortnite. But the main character is really the island, and the island will change every sort of like season. We obviously don't have a team like that. We're an indie really developer at this point,
Right.
and but like we're just introducing the first experience in Goblin Town. It happens to be this like you need to make this delivery. Um, that doesn't mean you know as we like evolve the game and sort of the ecosystem, etc., you can't sort of introduce new parts of Goblin Town, new experiences. If we decide that like season two, we don't even really call it seasons, but like experience two or whatever game two is a different type of thing. Maybe it's a skydiving game, maybe it's in space and it's like a zero gravity thing, maybe
Right.
it's you know we want to like the goal is to just
Keep it
we want
fresh.
fun, yeah, keep it fresh, because if you think about it logically, right, you're gonna get attention even if you kill it, you crush it, you do an amazing job. You're gonna get attention for max like 60 to 90 days. And that's if you do everything right. You probably won't even get that. And so and then like okay, someone like a Fortnite will do a new season, right? Or when you have like crazy like live services, you're gonna do like a new experience on your thing, or new like expansions to the thing. And so that's just the reality of the space. But like, what if there was a new type of experience? You're still in the same general sort of thing, because as you play the game more, it feels a little bit more. Even though it, it's not a lot of people are mistaken. Like they think it's uh like an endless runner. It's not. There's there's a delivery you need to make.
Right.
Um uh and so as you play the game more, it feels a little bit more like a platform. Like you start to be like, oh, I just want to explore a little bit, Like you get to certain areas and you're like, there's lore there. There's stuff going on. I'm like, you sort of like, and you sort of want to make time if you could try to beat the game, which I personally have not beaten the game. It is hard.
This $10,000
Uh
sounds like it's going to be a very rare case that somebody
Yeah,
pulls
which
it
is why
off.
we brought like a ton of merch that we're gonna give away, and we'll probably do like these like mini games and stuff that like we'll just like focus on specific things, like how fast you can get in 5 minutes or things like that, so
Right.
people can feel accomplished. But yeah, no, it should feel like if someone does come and beat the game, yeah, listen, deal's a deal. You get 10 grand. I'm not like that worried, but like, hey, listen, I'm a decent gamer and I'm getting probably 40% of the way to the end. Not
Wow.
even really. I'll be honest. Like,
I can't wait. You
yeah,
definitely convinced me to come up to New York on Sunday. So,
yeah, no, you should definitely come. But yeah, no, it's just like it's gonna be fun. Like it's gonna be interesting to see how people respond to it. It's gonna be interesting to see how like just speed to try to beat the game. But like for us, just expanding as we sort of grow, like the point I was trying to make before was as we sort of build out these experiences in Goblin Town, right? The the idea is like, can we get to a point where there's enough stuff there
Right.
that like if something happens in the real world, we can be like reactive in our sort of digital world. And so I guess the closest analogy would be like the way that South Park
I
sort
was
of
literally gonna
turns.
say South Park
Yeah.
has built the platform for
Yeah.
reactionary content.
And they make it within a week. There's a whole show I think
Yep.
you could watch either on Netflix or HBO or whatever that like or Peacock or whatever
Yeah.
they're streaming in these days. You can see that they have a whole process like
Yeah.
and
Ozempic, they
and
were on that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so the question is like, could we get to that point as a game? Well, obviously not today and not even tomorrow, but like it's a great goal to have. Like if something happened in the world, I use this as a joke, but like, Diddy gets arrested. Could we like next week have enough in our thing where we could do like, I think there was a game like Escape, like a Diddy Party, game that came out like fairly quickly after the whole Diddy stuff came out. And so like, could you do something that, and maybe that doesn't even make sense for what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's more of a joke, but like,
Yeah.
you know, could you do something that happens in the real world and have a turnaround
Yeah.
time because you have the characters and the assets and things
Yeah.
like that?
Smuggling rare earth metals out of China. Great driving game.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an escape game, and it's escape from the CC. Yeah. No. So it's like things like that that would be really really fun and sort of like funny. That could be like just that you want to aspire to get to that point
Right.
where we're very far away from that right now, but it's just we could dream, and so that's the game. And then by the way, that's uh, going back to what I was saying before about the two sides. There's the game, right? We have on deck a different game,
I was about
survivor
to
type of
ask about
game.
the Crash game.
Oh, so it's funny. Okay, so there's a little story there. So we originally started building Goblin Crash, and Matt and Nikki were working on Goblin Crash, and the game is awesome. Like I have so much fun playing it. We put it on the shelf, not forever, but it's like not a dusty shelf. It is a very like clean shelf. But we just like once we got to playtesting it, um, we came to just the realization that like doing a multiplayer game as your first game is just like
It's a
life
big
on hard mode.
swing. It's a
It's
big
life on hard
swing.
mode. Yeah, it's hard. And so while the game is fun and really I think like just like some of the most fun I've had playing. It's very much like Twisted Metal, Goblin, like Rocket League, Goblinified, and we just like the real story is Matt went on paternity leave, and he came back with a concept in a game. That's really honestly, there's no other way to like. They're just really talented guys, and the other thing is like Nikki did all the modeling for the entire game. Like everything you see there, like one person made.
Holy shit.
It's sort of insane. Like I hope we don't like kill them. Like we need to preserve them. But the yeah, so that's really what happened is like we had already been thinking like the game is great, but it will be really hard to get traction for a game like this. Any multiplayer game. Um, and so yeah, he went back. He made the sort of the general concept. He pitched to us, and then we sort of started developing it out. I don't remember what month that was, but it wasn't that long ago. Within the last 6 months, and
Wow.
so, but the thing was, we also had a leg up because a lot of like the car, I don't know, like what you call it, dynamics or the way it worked,
Sure.
sort of passed over to the game.
Ah,
Not exactly the same because it wasn't like a battler. But funny enough, like if we really wanted to just add like a bazooka on the back, we theoretically could because I mean, enough of that stuff has been figured out.
right.
But no, yeah, so the game it will be released one day. I don't want to promise, but like there's no reason why it wouldn't at one point as we gain enough traction. Like it will. There's no reason it shouldn't be an activity in Goblin Town.
Right.
Um, you know, but we definitely wanted to just focus on one thing at a time, and so that one thing is the really hard driving game. And then, but look, separately, there's two other people on the team, Scott and Cammy, also super duper talented people, both lovers of Survivor games, and so they just started building a Survivor game. And every time I get like an update on it, it's just like cooler and cooler and cooler. And so, um, and Scott and Greg both got me hooked on for like a good few weeks where I eventually had to stop playing Vampire Survivor. They're like, here, you have to understand Survivor games. So I was like, okay. And so I was like, okay, I can't play this game anymore. I'm spending too much time. But so they're building that. That's like on deck. We'll probably have some sort of early access, probably sometime in the summer.
Right.
And okay, so that's the one side. Then the other side is the crypto side. Obviously, we have our our NFTs, and then we are like at the later stages of a concept of a Web3 game. It needs to make sense, and so we've been playing around a lot with like you know, um, AI agents and sort of like D&D. So it was a few different things that happened over like a bunch of months. And we've been talking about this for some time, but I think we have like the concept of what we want to start with. I think we want things to finish there before we really get started on it.
Right.
And Gray, I think it was Gray. He drives from he lives in tri-state area, so drives from the tri-state area to like 5 hours to some I think he has a place in some state. And um and so it's like a 5 hour drive. He has three boys, and he once said like, I've been using ChatGPT to play Dungeons and Dragons. Like I've been using ChatGPT as the dungeon master to play D&D with my kids when we drive, and it's a really great fun experience. And he said it was just like if you've never played D&D, you usually have a dungeon master who's sort of like is the person who sort of runs the game. And using AI for it is interesting. And actually looking into it, the D&D community isn't like so anti it. Usually
Hmm.
some communities are anti crypto or
Yeah.
anti uh AI or whatever. And I'm sure there's people who don't like it in the D&D community, but like I don't know if it's like trying to make friends and trying to find a dungeon master and just being this easier. I don't know if that has something to do with it. I don't know if I'll probably dig into it more. But the point is that like there isn't an aversion to an AI dungeon master. And so just started to think about like that as a concept, and that as like in our universe, we're sort of like because D&D is typically like the hero journey. It's telling great stories,
Yep.
um, usually with friends or sometimes not even friends, acquaintances, and eventually, hopefully, friends. And so we're not really the hero journey. We're at least in Goblin Town in our universe. It's sort of the anti-hero journey to some degree. And so we started to think about like what would it look like, and then all those like AI agent started coming out. We started just experimenting internally, like I personally, with them, and realized like it'd be really cool to like sort of take our characters. We have this thing called the 187, which is like our core characters, and in like our universe. And obviously there's goblins and things in Goblin Town, but there's also a larger universe that we've been sort of building. And so the question is, could we take some of those characters and make a really fun sort of AI agent experience, where you imagine playing D&D, and then you like go and interact on Twitter with some character, and you have to convince them to give you like a potion, right? And so like you say something to them, and maybe you convince them to do it, but then you see me do that, and you're like, oh, okay, now easy, I know what to say to them. And then they don't give it to you, because when you say that, it's like, sorry, I gave it to AJT because he already, I gave all my potions today, come back tomorrow, try something new. And so you can sort of make something really interesting that's
But
like a
doing that
pub.
publicly, not like not taking that out and gatekeeping it within like a game, but doing that publicly so everybody sees and it has that viral
Yeah, you
side.
could do like yeah, exactly. So you can have like sort of a combination where there is an experience of a private like thing where you're going and you're setting up your group of people who are going on this like sort of mission, because like these D&D experiences are very modular. And so but then having that public thing that you sort of need to do to get to the next step or stage or whatever. And so anyway, it's the late stages of a concept right now. And so hopefully we'll start on that soon. And then we're also working on a bunch of other Web3 stuff. Some stuff people have been asking us for a long time to do. Uh, uh, the thing with us is like I find that we're never really first, but we usually come with a different lens of looking at the thing. And so like, you can even make an argument that like Goblin Town was the bookend of like the NFT run. Like it was the last real collection on ETH. Um, Basically everything came before that. Like everything you couldn't even think of now came before that.
Right.
You could look at like CryptoPunks as like the start, and like I like to say CryptoPunks is the start, Goblin Town is the end of the
What a
NFT, let's say.
transformation.
Yeah, right. Right. It's like we devolved into our base, whatever. But yeah, no, so like I just I like to, people have wanted, oh, do an Ordinals collection, do a token, do something on Solana, do this, do that. And like, and we hear it. And if we had like an interesting addition to the conversation, um, we would do it. But like a lot of times it felt a little bit like either cash grabby or this or that. And like there's many things you could say about us, but like we did not, and maybe we should have, to be honest. Like we didn't take that like attention and try to extract from the space.
Right.
Um,
I would agree with that.
Everything
You
Goblin
guys,
Town we've basically given for free.
yeah.
Um, and so, and we're conscious of that type of stuff. And nevertheless, we still get our fair share of hate from people who feel I bought this thing at this price from this other person and you're behind it, or you got a piece of the royalties. So I want, I have this level of expectation from you now. Um, and listen, it's not easy. I think we've gotten numb to it at this point, and so we've sort of like marched our own drum. But like, I understand why other teams of it's tough. Like it's tough. It doesn't feel like there's anything you can deliver that would. I know friends that have delivered everything on their roadmap, and still the price is down because
Yes.
it's not about delivering on the roadmap. It's about um,
Other people. Although I think a lot of
it's
people are like,
speculation.
yeah,
It's just about
speculation.
speculation. If you
Yeah.
can keep speculation going.
Yeah.
And so, or it's about actually providing value if you can. And that's where I think more we've been on like that side of things where it's like, could we build stuff that is like that provides value? Um, Obviously a lot easier said than done. But we've been working on it. So anyway, we do have some things that people have wanted from us for some time. We've just found our own way to sort of like our own way to like do the thing, and which is why we're doing it now. You know what I mean? And so when we find a unique way to do something, we'll throw everything at it, and we're usually pretty quick once we figure out we want to do something. But getting to that point is usually the hardest part, to be
Right.
honest.
Yeah. You have so much going on in this universe. And it's funny because for me at least, there's so much happening. And all of a sudden this game comes out, you start talking about it, you're doing some interviews, and I'm like, holy shit, Goblin Town has been absolutely heads down cooking, and I had no idea. Now that's partly my fault, but also I think um it kind of shows that you guys have stuck around and didn't just kind of like, all right, like we're gonna fade off and figure out how to drop a token and we'll do our extraction and then go on to the next thing. You guys have really been thinking, hey, delicately, how can we make the right next move and build the next right thing and make this bigger?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of people are like, "Oh wow, Goblin Town like has really stuck around." And yeah, I think it's a testament to the team. I think it's testament to like just the the mental sort of state and the focus. But yeah, we have big aspirations for it. Like I think it was, we launched it in 2022, and really for that first year, it was like a fun nights and weekends project for the team. I'll be completely honest, and I've said this before to we try to be as like Gray and Caesar were working at a company. I was working at Upstream. The three founders were basically nights and weekends, and nights and weekends. We gave more than nights and weekends, but it was just like we were, we were running on fumes and
Right.
a lot of it. There were a few people on the team full time, but really it was, I think, in like 2023 when we were we basically got involved with Only Up, the game,
Oh yeah.
the indie game that went crazy
Yep.
viral. Basically, we discovered it like when it had very few downloads. Thought it was like what Goblin Town would look like if we ever built a game. Now we're here, so you could take what you want from that. But reached out to the person, like they only had like 500 downloads at the time. The Twitter account had like 30 followers. Just DM'd him like, hey, can you add like a goblin into your game? Like we'll send it to our community. We've got all these 100,000 plus followers. And ends up, he's like, send me some art. If I like it, maybe I'll do it. And so we sent it to him. He liked it. We came to a deal, and he added it. This is like the first or second week of June, and then the thing just like blew up. It was, I think he had over 200,000 downloads by the end of June. So like within 2 weeks, it just went
Whoa.
like parabolic. By the end of July, it was over 500,000 downloads. So just did really, really well. And he continued to add the art into the game. And so a lot of people thought it was us, right? A lot of VCs
Yep.
started hitting us up thinking
Yep.
like we made the game. There's a lot of art. Like if you search, Only Up in Goblin Town, there's a ton of articles. Um, and so anyway, to make a long story short there, from that, and whether like the game is going to blow up on its own or we help push it there, you can debate that forever, and we'll never know. But it did blow up, and so the but the big takeaway I think for us, at least for the founders, was like maybe we're sitting on this like generational opportunity to like build, like we're all fantasy world fans of like Star Wars and Marvel and all that stuff. So like, are we sitting on like a once in a generation opportunity to like take our own stab at trying to go after our own fantasy world? And I think that's what sort of led us to be like, okay, then we like merged my company Upstream with the company I was running with Michael, our CTO, with Truth, Labs, became Truth Arts in the beginning of 2024, and then started doing this. So, we've been sort of cooking for a bit on this stuff. And so now over the next like sort of 60 to 90 days, you're just going to see a lot of stuff come out because we've been this whole time, even all of 2023, 2024, we've been like building and building a lot of the foundation to do something, really interesting,
Right.
and so I'm excited. There's like a lot to do, but I'm excited that people are going to finally see like a lot of the hard work all the people on the team have done for the last, long time.
I'm so excited, man. You have my full attention as a participant in the space, a gamer, somebody who just loves people who are pushing the boundaries and doing things differently. One area also I want to highlight is you guys also have used memes to push forward, as the Goblin Talk being a meme. I think the voice screaming has become a viral meme from the game. Uh, you guys have also leaned into helping people manage, create, post memes. Can you touch a little bit on Meme Depot and meme groups
Yeah.
that are coming to Abstract?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And yeah, it's funny enough, we actually own the trademark of the word goblin mode. Um, and so that was the word of the year in 2023,
It was.
2022 or 2023. And we were like one of the ways that got popularized. And so we own the trademark. And so actually when you see it in the game, it's going to be like goblin mode, little trademark on right next to it. Yeah. So we're convinced that, I'm convinced, we're convinced, the team's convinced that like we were memed into existence in a lot of ways. Obviously we needed, there's depth to all the stuff that we're doing, but we were very much memed into what or you could look at us as like one of the more successful meme NFTs, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I've always been just like a big believer that like meme, like software and tech around memes is like sort of just underdeveloped right now. You've got the Giphies of the world, but like it's not a lot of VC money going into it. And considering how important it is to like control the memes, like it's surprising that it's like as underfunded as it is, considering you like have virality baked into the product. So it's like, okay, what like you could just figure out how to monetize this thing, as it shouldn't be that hard. And so there's two people on the team that are, I would say, like embody that more than anyone. There's a person named she goes by Wireless on Twitter, but her name's Alyssa, and then John Macapodi. And John has made all like the best viral, funny clips of Goblin Town. All like the funny content, all that stuff is like sort of him. And uh and Alyssa just is like I would say like the meme queen of the internet. And the two of them are just really like are like meme like I don't know, light or like what do you like a light tower. But it was really initially Alyssa's idea before she was actually at the company, and she was helping us like as an advisor, building out Meme Depot. And the simple idea was just like at the time where you managed your memes was just like on your phone in a folder or on
Yeah.
your computer in a folder, and they weren't communicating with each other. And we said, wouldn't it be really useful if we could have just like one place like that is in the cloud that you can manage from your phone or your computer, that you can sort of see all your memes, and not just like GIFs, like images, GIFs, videos, etc. And so that's where Meme Depot, the idea of Meme Depot came. And so it's funny, like there's so much we still want to do with Meme Depot and places we want to take it. But it's funny, like NFT and meme coin collections, like they just find it and they use it as a great place to like manage the like central bank of their memes. It's just a great like useful tool. Like
We
even
need
I
it.
just saw like Doodles just hit us up and they wanted the they're called depots, so it's like D/Doodles. And they were just I saw one of the social guy was just posting sent like add all your memes into here. And so it's just like a really useful like centralized location where a community can just like manage their memes, search their memes, tag the memes,
Right.
etc. Um, and then we have like we think that there's so much more to do with it. There was a second thing that's it's going to be an app, probably also be a website eventually, but it's what we call it Meme Shuffle. And it's just like this, you click a button and it just makes a meme for you. And so it basically takes like captions and backgrounds and just like randomizes it. And some like the idea is like if you press that button like 5, 10 times, could you end up with like 3 funny memes, right? And if so, I mean, think about baseball, right? If you bat 300, you're going to Cooperstown, right?
Yeah.
You're going to the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And so look at it as like a little bit of a, how long would it take you to make a meme if you click a button 10 times and you end up with one meme, two memes, three memes? Like, where's the, the through point of that? And so the point is like, could we build some interesting tools around meme and software around memes? Could we own that? Can we own those rails? And could that be a really interesting distribution down the road as we sort of build it
I
out?
see. I see.
And so
I
it's
think I have an idea where that's kind of
so
headed.
it's like not exactly connected to the stuff, but
Yeah.
every time someone on the team or whatever is just like, it's not like, are we just wasting our time on this stuff? I say like, maybe we are, but also maybe like we end up striking gold. We'll probably spin it out as its own thing, but like now we sort of own the rails of like if we could own the number one database of memes on the internet, right? Like
Yeah.
that would be a very valuable thing to own.
Nobody's done it in a
Um,
high quality way at
yeah,
all, right? Like the like right now my memes are in a shared album called Meme DAO, and then there's like 5 friends on it, and we just upload memes every week, right? But
Dude,
that is not.
make a folder.
I'm
I'll set you up.
I mean literally I will make one after the show, but like that is, I hear that and I'm like, yes, we need that. And the fact that Doodles is moving that direction, I think that signals.
Yeah, almost
Um,
all the big collections have reached out to either want their handle or something that they could
hmm,
like just add the memes. Actually, I'd say shout out to Luca and Pudgy Penguins. They were really the first users, and they just always would rave about it and made us like want to build it out more. And which is why also we're adding a version of it to Abstract. We were building this thing called meme groups. It's supposed to be done like imminently. It's just we keep getting delayed. We did something and took us like a week or two away from it, but it's basically our version. Like streaming is really big on Abstract, and so the idea here is it's like sort of our can you like when you stream things, you stream like playing video games, you
yep.
stream political debates, you stream all these different things. um can you make a really useful fun experience to stream making memes? Like obviously if you do like the Sausage Factory of like making memes, it's probably boring. Like who wants to watch that?
Right.
It's like, you're like what, in Photoshop, like Photoshop and shit. Like, I don't know if that did. But if you take the meme shuffle concept and the meme depot concept, you sort of combine it a little bit. You click a button. If you let people contribute captions and backgrounds and stuff, and then you can make like original
Then it turns
memes.
into like this gold prospecting. Like, are you
It
gonna
could
watch
be,
a stream and somebody's gonna hit this fucking gold mine? Oh, I was there when that meme got created.
yeah.
Like,
And
yeah,
then like maybe you tie it eventually back to a token if people want to do that. And there's some interesting things where you could like have fun. And we're just gonna like put it out and see how people react to it and see what people like, what they don't like, and sort of build off that. Um, but so that when I say 2.5, it's like Web 2 of Goblin Town, Web 3 of Goblin Town,
yep,
and general like truth arts ecosystem.
yeah.
There's other things going on there. And then meme tech is like the 0.25.
It's
That's what we got going on.
again, it's so sick. It is so sick. Look, I want to be conscious of your time. If there's anything you want to plug here, feel free to. I do maybe like one last like little question of like the Web3 side. Again, you guys have stayed away from dropping more collections. The game is not Web3. What what should people expect maybe for like the future of Web3 for what you guys are doing, or is that still to be determined?
We're not like publicly talking about it yet, but we are actively working on a few things
Okay.
specifically for that type of stuff. And so, like, it's not oh, we're building this, game, and we're never thinking about Web 3 again. If Web 3 made sense for the game, we would have done it. We're not
Right.
like anti Web 3 gaming or anything. We're conceptualizing and at the later stage of conceptualizing a Web 3 game, and hopefully it goes the distance. A lot of things fall to the wayside for different reasons, but yeah, no, we're actively building one specific thing that I can't talk about, but hopefully, in the next 45 to 45 days, you should know more about it. And yeah, it's like we're not against doing more NFTs, we're not against doing other, it just needs to like make sense. And we either need to have a really like our own unique spin to it, or or like or we're not going to do it because we don't want to just be another like everything we've done. If you just look back, like there was like purpose to it.
Right.
Like we never put anything out that we just like was like a like you know we've put things out like for a joke or whatever, but we're not like as we try to be thoughtful around it. We try
Right.
not to just follow what everyone's doing at that exact
If
moment.
you guys ever did a token, it would look nothing like anybody else's token. Kind of like that's the
Yeah.
mentality that you guys approach stuff with. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, no, it would need to be like, okay, we found a way to do something that we think will make this work for, because everyone who's done this has thought about it this way, but like you actually don't need to think about it that way. It's this. And by the way, a lot of times we try stuff, it doesn't work. There's a bunch of things I wish we can redo with the knowledge we have now, and we would have done it differently,
Right.
you know? Um, And so, but like we're proud of everything. We just like there's strategies you do. Like personally like the thing that it's like mechanics of things. Like right, like oh, this is a really interesting mechanic of that, or we're introducing a new mechanic using our style and introducing a new mechanic to this type of contract or collection or whatever. And
Gotcha.
so like Gray has I mean he, I'm actually also choosing my words
I know. I was
carefully,
like,
so
you're
I
tiptoeing
don't get
here.
murdered. I don't get murdered. No, he's drawn like I don't want to say full collections, but he's drawn a bunch of other things that if we decided tomorrow we wanted to make it to a collection and drop it, like we could do it. You probably need to put some more time into them, but like and there's some of them maybe a little outdated at this point. But like he's sitting on so much good art. Like the amount of art he throws away that's good that I like cry about that like it's just so good. Um, is more than I think he's ever even put out. And so it's just like it's not for a lack of creativity and a lack of art or a lack of this. It's more of like, is this the right thing? There's only so much you could also focus on, right?
Yeah.
Like as a team, like if we're doing a lot, but like we don't have individuals doing a lot. Maybe besides Gray and myself. Um, everyone on the team is like working on something. Like it's like Nikki and Matt. They're working on the game. They're not also working on the Web3 game or Scott and Cammy. They're just working on that thing. And they're doing an amazing job on those things. If we would start to spread those people, the context switching is a hard thing for most people. And Gray and I both suffer from it because I think we're the ones who probably context switch the most in the team. Also, Jackie on the team and also Alyssa on the team. They both also context switch a lot, but and probably John too. But everyone's context switching. But
Everybody.
no. But the point being is just like it's a focus thing. So it's like, yeah, sure, we could do this thing, but like, is it worth our time? Should we do it? Like we for the longest time, that DMV idea was we've had that through like originally Gray had an idea back when it was like Goblin Crash about some sort of DMV thing. Then it sort of got an idea like Alyssa had at a different point separately, and I was actually just looking back because I was trying to figure out origins of things. But like, and so we ended up doing it for April Fools because it just felt like we could be a little bit more light on it. It didn't have to have like most people are just expecting nothing because it's April Fools. And so we have ideas that sometimes have different incantations and different start points and end points and occasionally we like how we launch things, but we don't like how we executed it. And so it's always it's always like a situation where we're trying to do the best. We also understand people's expectations, but I think we've also like the people have stuck around in the community. They know us at this point, and they know like how we act, and then just silence and whatever doesn't mean we're not doing stuff. We're always working. Um, it's just it just depends. We're trying to do the thing right, and we think we have the ability to grab attention when we actually do stuff. So you know, TBD. We're about to find out in a big way in the next few weeks. But
I can't
that's
wait, man.
a
I'm
little
so
preview.
happy for you guys. Hopefully everybody who's watching this, if you haven't already, you're following Goblin Town, you're following Alex, you're expecting the game. There's just so much to be looking forward to here, man. And
Yeah,
again, I gotta thank you for taking the time to hop on and
of
uh
course.
I mean drop some absolute dimes of knowledge. And I think also for people who are like trying to build in this space right now, there's a lot of things to take away that I think are gems, like real gems.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the last two things is one, you should definitely go to Steam or Epic Games and add it to your wish list. Um, that's like the main focus for the next like 15, for the rest of the month
Yep.
to just get people back to the wish list. Um, I would say the other thing is like, people building in this space, um, whether you're building like web 2, web 3. I mean, listen, I have hotter takes on stuff. Like I think, well, if we're talking web 3, like I think NFTs are supposed to be on ETH, and I think meme coins are supposed to be on Solana. I don't like think besides maybe like Retardio, like I don't really can't think of maybe Clandestores, but like can't really think of any Solana NFTs. There's a few like um, you know, ones on Bitcoin on ordinals, that are okay, but like ETH is where NFTs are. And I think same with like tokens. Like you do a token, you do it on Solana. That's where all the liquidity is.
Yeah.
Like maybe abstract will change some of that. I think base here and there has a hitter, but then it doesn't feel like there's enough like liquidity and organic stuff on
Right.
base. And so like Solana's where like where the winners are, and so like that. But then in terms of gaming, like personally, I have this debate with one of my friends, Drew, all the time. I play almost every night with Jackie on our team. We play NHL or FIFA, but we've been playing NHL for I'm the Rangers, he's the Canucks. And these epic battles. Honestly, we should start streaming them again because
Start streaming.
they're so good. They're so close. And whatever. Anyway, so I'm on a two win streak right now. It's hard with Jackie because Jackie's really good. But when I play him, I don't want to be thinking about like connecting a wallet and making money. I'm playing for entertainment. When I play Fortnite, I'm playing for entertainment. I'm playing to have fun. Um, and I maybe there's a game that is a fun game that also has like crypto as the core thing. But like, and probably the main reason why we focused on just making a fun game or an enjoyable game or an interesting game is just like it just when you add money into the equation, it just changes the dynamics of why you're doing the thing. Like,
100%.
and so but I that doesn't mean I don't think that there isn't a place for Web3 with gaming. I just personally think it's more of like achievements and rewards that end up becoming collectibles or tradable things. For example, like I I think like if you make a fun game and the game is fun no matter what, but then like you beat the game and you win something, and then you get that thing either as a physical or a digital item, and that thing maybe holds value for some reason, or you try to apply value to it. That is more interesting as a onboarding mechanism to owning a digital asset, owning technically an NFT, but let's just call it digital collectible, right? That's a lot more interesting to onboard masses than having someone buy a token to play a game or buy a pass to play a game, and then the value of that pass or that token goes down. Uh, That's just to me less interesting. Um, Nobody's really done a great job at that. I mean, there are, I guess, a few, Web3 games that are interesting. I think card games are a lot easier to do Web3, like
Yeah,
Parallels,
totally. Totally.
um, because it's just like naturally makes sense as like a digital, like collectible. But
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I just like you also just have to come at it from like a don't put your like blinders on when you're like building this type
Right.
of stuff or thinking about this type of stuff because you should be like, oh yeah, we're gonna just do Web3 because Web3 games, right? And like you can make money for sure, but like, are you gonna make a lasting game that people want to play? And like for us, we want to do more of like, and I think everyone on the team has a different perspective on this. My personal perspective is like, I think when I look at our characters and the stuff that in the brand and stuff that Gray has created and drawn, I get even more so, and I think it's because I grew up and it was like my favorite. I get like a Mario vibe, right? Like because if you look at the characters, you've got Gabi and you've got Urki. Urki's the one in the truck.
Yep.
Gabi's like the face of the one with the butt, who's looking back. Um, and so like you sort of could look at those as like, and obviously we're not Nintendo, we're not Mario, like, but there's these like the thing I love about like I played a lot of like Mario Party and like Super Smash Brothers and Mario Kart growing up on the N64. Um, and so like Super Smash was my favorite. Like I was always Link, and you got really good at the game by like playing solo, right, against the CPU, and then you were unlocking characters. You were
Yep.
unlocking, I think it was like Jigglypuff if you beat the game the first time. I think Luigi, if you like go through all, I'm like trying to remember all the codes, but like Luigi, if you do all the breakers for each character, um, I think you got Captain Falcon or or I think it was Captain Falcon if you beat the game in like I think under like 20 minutes, and then I think it was Ness if you beat the game without dying all 3 lives. Anyway, the point is like you were like introduced to these characters. It was just like a vibrant world, right? It wasn't overly complex. There was a princess. There was this. There was that. And so when I started to look at our characters, right? Obviously, it's like a little bit more dirty because it's goblins, but there is that feel of like you know um these type of like I don't know. That's how I personally feel. I'm sure someone else will come in and feel completely different. And but that's the great thing about like the good thing about great art is like everyone has their own like look on
Yeah.
what it is, right? People knew inherently when we came out, or not inherently, they knew like deep down, right, that this art was made by someone who knew what they were doing. It was like purposefully unattractive. It
Yes.
wasn't by accidentally unattractive. And so, but that's what also like good character development IP does is it just makes you it gets you excited about like the possibilities and like, you know, Mario's like stood the test of time. It's been around for got to be like what, 30 almost 40 years now.
40 plus
So
years. I think they're approaching 50.
what year are we in? 25? Yeah, I guess what
25.
was it, the 80s? Was it the 80s that it
Yeah,
came out?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess approaching 50. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And so, like, anyway, we could only be so lucky to get to that point. But the point being is just like there's um there's something really fun about like trying to build like a fantasy brand, an IP that like can last and isn't just like another like I think we were just talking about how like just like all the studios are um Oh, we were on a team call and my daughter dragged me to go see Snow White, and honestly, it was worse than even advertised.
I I heard it was
Uh,
terrible.
uh, it was it deserved the 1.6 on whatever on like IMDb. It was worse than advertised. But Grace said something funny where it's like you should tell your daughter like this is a teaching moment where like you tell her that like they shouldn't be making sequels. They shouldn't be ruining this stuff. Make original content, whatever. But it's also like it's true. Like I think people, what are we on? Like movie. I just saw they're announcing like John Wick 5. John Wick's actually pretty good, but like they're not like I think he's spoiler, but I think he died in the last one. And
Yeah.
like so the point is just like I don't know. It feels like it's very rare that you get an original movie, but or content or IP. But when you do, that stuff just you open up a whole world for people.
Yeah.
And so
It's not marginal. Like, the best case is it's marginal and kind of like, "Oh, that was so good." But new IP, new stuff is like it has this potential to be, like, levels and exponentially better than anything else.
no, no. So there's a lot for us to get excited about. Yeah, we just need to like pace ourselves and
Yeah.
just always remember it's not a what is it, not a race, it's a marathon,
Marathon, not a sprint. Yeah.
not a sprint.
Yeah.
So
Well, you got me amped up, brother. Again, if you are watching this, please go add the game to your wish list on Steam. Obviously, if you're
or
watching
Epic Games
or
if
Epic
you're
Games. Uh, but I'm excited to play it. I'm looking forward to everything coming out, and make sure you're also following Goblin Town for any updates.
yeah, appreciate you having me. This was
Of
super
course.
fun.
Yeah,
I
I
always love
appreciate it,
talking about
man.
this stuff.
Yeah,
Talk
yeah,
to you. So,
well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Another great episode. Go make sure you're adding the game and following, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.